Hello fellow Morbheads, my name is Jack, and it's Morbin time. Ever since I saw the beauty of Morbius, Jared Leto became my #1 inspiration in life. Every video I do from now on will have me method acting my way to the #1 spot on Forbes' bottom 5 actors list. That list is absolutely the high establishment of honor possible to a disciple of the Leto way. And since we're talking about morbing all over each other, how about we ask a simple question? Can you beat Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines as kinda Morbius? Bloodlines is a very thorough game in quite a many aspects, and it does well to mimic its tabletop RPG counterpart in terms of stats, disciples, and the like. So, that means I had to do some serious thinking. While you watch me continuously fail the character quiz in the background to get my intended desire, I'll tell you a bit about Michael Morbius, the living vampire himself, and we'll check a look at the clans I was thinking might work best for our vampire with a PhD. Much like any other vampire in fiction across history, Morbius has superhuman strength, stamina, agility, reflexes, and senses. Now, to those of you knowledgeable of the game itself, you might think this falls perfectly into the Bruja clan's lap, but that's just with the most simple of abilities. Any of the vampire player characters, for the most part, can become wannabe luchadors. Morbius also has a regenerative healing factor, which is just a vampire thing anyway, as well as fangs and claws, another vampire thing. That means I'll be focusing mostly on fist fighting in my adventure and not using a lot of weapons. Psionic gliding can be tossed into the landfill to ruin the environment for a few thousand years, same as superhuman speed. But next up is mesmerism. This ability will be mostly what I focus on, which means I want a clan that focuses on domination and having a very strong presence. One other thing that'll tell us what clan we need is Morbius' backstory itself. He's a doctor, and also incredibly intelligent as a result. Well, actually, he's a doctor as a result of being incredibly intelligent. Not to mention, he might be rich, which means we can input all of this into our calculator to find out exactly what we need. Let me just get my calculator here. Okay, so input the vampire and add the mesmerism, multiplied by the rich and or famous doctor. Okay, I think I've got it. And I come out with, or at least the calculator gives me, so you can blame the calculator if I'm wrong, the Ventru. Yes, the arrogant and domineering clan full of rich, famous, and influential people. Perfect for our doctor with a bloodlust. One more thing before we begin. This run takes place across the Morbiverse, a multiverse of Morbiuses. In this Morbiverse, we are Michael B. Morbius, and the B stands for blonde because I cannot change the hair color of the character itself. So, we'll stick with it and go over the events of this questionably action-packed movie experience. The night is October 21st, 2004. I had initially gone out to try and trick any particular person of the female gender to follow me back to my humble abode in the sparkling Santa Monica. If instead of the textbook definition of sparkling, we used the slang definition instead, there was nothing short of stupidity all throughout this city. Instead of my original experiment, where I would take her blood and use it in the process of attempting to heal my double stanky leg disorder, she instead decides to get down and dirty. I, in fact, do get down, and she is, in fact, very dirty. She smells, and I'm pretty sure she's so dirty that she's got roaches in the cracks of her body. Ow! Ah, a hole. I think something just bit me. Ultimately, our little unethical experiment turned date night ends with me feeling sick to my stomach and begins again with even more kinky shit. It seems she's called in backup from the Wooden Stake Brigade for this disgusting little night venture. Good Lord, get me out of here. I awaken on a stage where some sort of blonde freakazoid with an accent far too many degrees out from Kevin Bacon to be comfortable is giving a speech. The Giga Chad fellow with the bustard sword cuts off the lady's head, and thankfully she didn't get to talk about how I borderline kidnapped her to try and cure myself of this disease. Wait, speaking of this disease involving the smelliest of lower limbs, how convenient that my disorder that stops me from walking stops mere seconds before I actually start playing the game. That way none of you can prove I didn't have it in the first place. What a miracle. Oh, right, playing the game is a thing. Let's get into it. The next part is a standard tutorial for an action-oriented RPG video game. Much like Skyrim's impeccably executed tutorial, this tutorial also becomes incredibly tedious if you have to redo it a second time. It's nice to learn how to play, but it's just... Well, I meet a strange man named Jack. No clue who would want a name like that, and he shows me the simple ropes. There are no ropes. That was a metaphor. In the meantime, I meet a security guard, fuck up a conversation with him, though it doesn't seem that he's interested in the proper etiquette of setting up and showcasing your My Little Pony jars to the public, so I drink his blood. A very normal response to unstimulating conversation. Morbius, however, does not kill innocents. Yet. We'll just ignore the innocents he did kill in the movie until the relatively close future. But until then, we don't kill innocents. Learning the ways of the gun proves unnecessary for now. I couldn't care less about this hunk of metal that fires smaller pieces of shaped metal at a very fast velocity. For now, as I said. I will spoil a bit and say they'll be important later, much later, but for now we are full Morbius, baby. Anyway, after all of that shit and spit and shine, Michael the blonde Morbius pyre does the ultimate superhero act and saves a life. That life is my life because I was almost killed by pale-skinned, no-blooded, cold-fleshed terrorists with a hankering for cock and ball torture. I read my emails, read some notes, grab something out of the fridge for a snack later. Man, I realized living life as a human was actually pretty boring. Leaving my apartment, I use my supernatural eyeballs to spot a bleeding man swag crawling his way into a nearby building. I extort some money out of a man in a suit first, his name possibly being Milo, and I skedaddle into the high-rent, low-effort housing with a bloody pool at its doorstep. I converse with the Riften's magician for hire, spelled with an E, not an A, and I've got to initiate a gang war between myself and a gang. Yes, what? Yeah, I am a gang, the Santa Monica Morbers. Anyway, later on I'll expand my territory with a new member, but for now it is simply me that is the gang. Why exactly did I have to enact, in the words of Karl Marx, capitalist punishment against a bunch of gang members? For their GPU supply? Even in 2004, scalpers are a serious issue. Don't take this lightly. With their GPUs yoinked so that the people of Santa Monica will no longer fall victim to the world of darkness known as price gouging, it must be return a clock. With a swish and a flick and a bit more than a bit of a sauna's true heating power, I make a pit stop at a medical facility on my way to meet the most disemboweled man in the world and perhaps grab him some medicine so he can pay me a lot of money. Perchance. I also realize that this world is nothing if not full of people ripe for indoctrinating into a gang so that they can ruin their lives in the future and potentially shave their chances of a successful life down to a buzz. We are in Santa Monica after all. The only place worse than this might be Compton. All of those words meant something, and that something is, I let a dying woman drink my vampire Morbius blood. Just like the end of the Morbius movie starring Michael R. Morbius, where the R stands for Ravenhead, a phrase used to describe someone with pitch black hair, where the love interest, whose name is completely irrelevant to my current situation, drinks Morbius's blood for some fucking reason without knowing what it would do, and wakes up as a vampire at the very end, like 8 minutes later. All of those words meant something as well. I turned a redhead into a ghoul, which is like a vampire, but not exactly. It's too much to explain right now, so I'll let this guy explain it.
Well, the way it was explained to me, whenever a vampire lets a human drink some of their vampire blood, the human gains a little vampire power, can heal up quick and that kind of stuff. Jeez, oh man. Then they're a ghoul and ooh.
Yeah, so basically that happens with the lady, but she's not my friend yet. She's just not literally dying anymore at this moment. Shortly after saving the life of a woman who didn't ask to become a slave to the taste of vampire blood, I grab some morphine, overdose Mercurio on it, and he informs me that next up I have to speak to the man, the myth, the legend, Therese Vorman. Ah shit, wait, no, I'm sorry. The woman, the fallacy, the misconception, Therese Vorman, and her sister, Jeanette Vorman. Oh, there she is. Sure, I'll talk to her for a bit. But wait, do you hear that? It's almost hypnotizing. Whoa, holy shit. How long has it been? I really gotta get going. That mortally challenged, eternally living vampire lady really is not getting any younger. I've got to find a guy named Tongue, and this blonde-haired businesswoman is going to help me out. After I help her out, of course. These people really don't understand that me not immediately brandishing my fisticuffs and having a go at them with the power of Mike Tyson isn't helping them already, huh? Whatever. After she has an argument with her sister, she tells us exactly what we have to do. We have to go ghost hunting. Okay, alright, whoa lady. First, I find out vampires are real and are living in Santa Monica, and now you tell me ghosts are real? Okay, yes, sure. No, okay, no, actually, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Santa Monica is pretty fucked up. It's definitely not the worst thing you could find here. Well, can you take a guess as to what happens in a haunted hotel? I'll give you one guess. One single guess. Go ahead, just take a couple seconds to think. What was that? No. What? Why would you ever think that happens? I'm never asking you questions again after that response. What the fuck? What happens in a haunted hotel is a haunting. The other answer I would accept is a furry convention. Those are the only two correct answers. Fortunately, it's the former, and I run into the spooky, scary Samaritan quite a few times. All the while this is happening, I'm forced to play dodgeball with vases, and pots and pans, and knives and forks, pretty much everything in the hotel. I also dodge steam by walking straight through it and burning my already rotting and decaying flesh several times before I reach a pendant. Really? A fucking pendant? That is what I get for enduring a poltergeist of this power that nearly beat the shit out of me by throwing pots and pans at my face? Fine. Whatever. And this pendant, I just so happen to take back to Jeanette, the cleavage-showing sister of Therese. Oh, right! I recognize her. She's the one I talked to when I first arrived. That small piece of the playthrough seems to be lost on me. I don't quite remember what happened. But it's time for Morbius' first bossy boss encounter. Slashing paintings left and right and north and south and east and west leads me to having to fight a being made out of blood. I try to fight this crimson paint connoisseur with my pitiful little knife, but it is pitiful and it is little. My fists end up doing more for me as I learn the ins and outs of combat, though I do take quite a beating as a result. I get taken down to a tiny little pinch of health for the purposes of flavoring the meat, and yet I still succeed. It is time to return to... No, wait, stop. I can break out of this trance. I have to speak to the batshit crazy vampire case upstairs. The smarter half reprimands me for what the sexier half did when I wasn't looking, and I will not be able to find the man I'm looking for. Oh yeah, the first name of the guy I'm looking for is Bertram. So if you guys see him, let me know, okay? Let me know. I am requested by the smarter half to walk into a diner nearby. And that doesn't seem to go very well, now does it? So I find myself spontaneously regenerated. Whoa, magic. And I go the Morbius path. I intimidate them into finding some bitches, much like Morbius tried to do to Milo when when something happened in the movie. I don't even know what. I have to return to the big-boobed bipolar bitch, and when I do, I find out that the two sisters are actually the same person. I already knew that. You didn't have to. I knew that. Quick. Everyone act surprised like it's your first time seeing it. And if it is your first time seeing it, then surprise, I guess. I make a severe error in my judgment though, and the hot half is killed off. Truth be told, I feel Morbius would have saved the one in charge, the one with the brain, who doesn't use her body to manipulate everyone and everything into her favor. Personally though, I thought Jeanette was hot. So, as a simple man with a simple brain, I would not have gone the Morbius route. A few side quests later, I find myself privy to warehouse busting. It sounds like fun, frankly, because I haven't busted any warehouses recently. In fact, I've done the opposite. Just a few days ago, I helped move things out of a warehouse without warehouse busting it, and it really felt like a missed opportunity. For those who don't know, warehouse busting is not a real thing. It is simply blowing up a warehouse. You can change the phrase to anything else you like as well, such as grocery store busting, safe busting, 1974 Ford Pinto busting. You get my point. This is where I test out a few other weapons I picked up to really see what one would be a Morptant choice to take on the quintuplet gang. That means 15 kids born simultaneously. Eventually, I just resort to the incredible power of the Morbius fist technique I learned in the first few minutes of being a true-blooded vampire. After assaulting the population of a Santa Monica warehouse, possibly here to commit acts of violence and illegality, I commit an act of violence and illegality by planting a fucking bomb in the main office with the overheating GPUs I stole from that one gang way earlier. Then I hightail myself all the way back to Hobo Junction. A hobo furry interrupts my enjoyment of the exploding warehouse fireworks and tells me about dread, pressure, and insane vampires named, what did he say? Malkavians? I tend not to listen to the poor and broke of this world. It ruins my unimaginably rich doctor aesthetic. Eventually, I have to head to downtown. straight to downtown, and I get a surprisingly warm welcome upon my arrival.
Hello there.
Okay, maybe it was more of a hard welcome. I get the two words mixed up a lot. A little cutscene shows me that the Sabbat, the terrorists of the world, are just having a little fun, being a little quirky. Some real tricksters, you know what I'm saying? It's all just a circus of fun out here. Nines Rodriguez, the man with a big 9 on his hip, saves my life from the overindulgence of fun, and I meet with Prince Lecroy. Weird, I thought Lecroy was an American thing, so I'm curious as to why he's British. My first goal is to meet up with Nines after speaking to Prince Philip before Queen Elizabeth stole his lifeblood from his very veins. Basically, he tells me he's a Twitter freedom fighter. It's obvious not everyone likes the Camarilla and simply cooperates, and yet he acts like it's some niche thing to hate the Camarilla. He's definitely verified on Twitter. My second goal is to go see a woman named Elizabeth Dane, or was it a ship? Whatever. It's time to complete that one thing I was talking about earlier with killing innocents. Yes, in the titular and incredibly popular movie Morbius 2022, there is a scene where Morbius goes crazy and kills 8 arguably innocent people on a ship where he first gets his powers. And good news is that is exactly what I do. In between murdering nearly an entire half of a baseball field's worth of innocent cops, I prepare myself for the inevitable downfall of my entire life and career as a result of saying the words innocent and cops in the same sentence. Oh, also I collect some documents and look at a camera, then I ditch the whole Titanic charade and jive walk my way back to the glory downtown Los Angeles. That girl that drank my blood stops me and begs to be under my service. Sure, why not? I was looking for an increase in numbers anyway. I can't be too clingy though, or else I'll give off the vibe she's giving off. And Morbius is a true Sigma male. He really doesn't rely on women, he just allows them to work with him to discover a top secret, potentially incredibly illegal serum to cure a rare degenerative disease in the middle of a children's hospital. Just as I arrive to the prince's chambers, I walk in on a pretty disappointing birthday party and then...
It's all over, the police radio!
Wait, what did he just say?
It's all over, the police radio! Police radio! Police radio!
Holy shit, that's the funniest thing I've heard in this run by far. This soda mascot looking motherfucker just said radio instead of radio. Before I can point out his inability to speak proper English, despite his language subtitle settings literally calling his version of English traditional, he sends me off to the Great Vampire Haven in the sky, a mansion in the hills filled with literally insane vampires. It's great because I get to beat the shit out of vampires to take out my aggression issues. Apparently, I'm investigating the absence of some Malkavian dude. Well, I already called this place a haven, and I certainly would not say no to some milk. Oh no, he's dead! Anyway, this place is burning down now, and there's some German guy yelling out undeath slurs at the top of his lungs across the burning rubble. Yep, this is most definitely California we are in. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Telling Freddie Prinze Jr. about the death of the crazy guy with a victim complex leads me to a museum, where I must rob it. Actually, my quest log specifically states that I am taking, not stealing, so I am committing no crimes here. Before I actually partake in Grand Theft Auto, I decide to do more side questing. My first and really only side quest that I focus on involves a haunted hospital. Entering the hospital allows me to find a man named Zach Baggins. It appears his friends Aaron Goodwin and Nick Groff are being brutally murdered within the broken and bloodied walls of this haunted asylum. Without hesitation, I accept his request to find out what happened to his best buds in the whole wide world. This leads me to finding a zombie vampire lady named Pisha. She wants me to murder this guy basically, or at least send him down here to be murdered. No, I don't think I can do that, sorry Pisha. So yeah, museum time or something like that. It proves to be pretty gosh darn easy. Sorry for the self-censorship. I feel as though if I say God's name in any negative or inflammatory way, he may strike me dead because I am currently a vampire, living in eternal undeath after all. I make it my goal to never kill any of the guards here as I am a reformed vampire. I no longer kill those who do not deserve it, and all of these guards probably have a wife and kids at home. Actually, looking at how they all look the same, maybe all of them share the same wife and children. I'm not sure if cuckoldry is deserving of death or not, but I'll give it a pass for now. At the end of the museum's wacky funhouse maze adventure, I meet that hobo furry Beckett one more time. And then he exclaims that he's got a raging hard-on for archaeology and wishes to merely glimpse the Ark of the Covenant, and perhaps he shall feel the tingling sensation one gets when they ejaculate. His words, not mine. Basically. Oh, and the thing that we're looking for can be looked for no more because it is not here.
Hollywood's Baron is an anarch named Isaac.
God! No! God, please, no!
Find Gary.
Ah, fuck. Now I gotta go to Hollywood. The one good thing is here I meet Velvet Velour. And I mean, I won't say much, but like... I also meet Isaac, who you may recognize from his previous roles in video games. Yeah, believe it or not, he was actually starring in quite a few video games, and he would continue to star in even more in the future. His most famous role was in The Binding of Isaac, but he also starred in Dead Space as the protagonist. Isaac sends me on a wild goose chase to find out the existence of particular tapes. What are these tapes? Well, they're your standard video game violence shit. I can't believe we're allowing our kids to play these harmful games of tear the woman apart limb from limb while she screams in pure and unending agony. My escapades lead me to the internet cafe and all that lies behind it. And as soon as I wander up those dreaded stairs, suddenly I'm attacked by a NEET. These bastards really have nothing better to do with their life than sit in the back of an internet cafe and zoink off to weird pornos. Nothing a little morbid can't fix, frankly. I grab the remainder of the tapes, and Isaac and I watch it right in the middle of the fucking lobby. Like, dude, anybody could basically walk in here and see us watching this, man. Like, I'm not very comfortable doing this. Thankfully, it ends relatively quickly, and it is my job to head up to the fucked up corpse mansion to rid the world of these computer nerds. Within this mansion are indeed all of those needs that I talked about literally a couple of paragraphs ago, and at the very bottom of this mansion is king of all needs. Yes, that's right, it's the hacker 4chan himself. How could I possibly beat this elusive and tactful monstrosity? 700 more billion brains locked up into one padlock of flesh and intestines? I was certainly in for a rodeo.
Watch me swing right in! Swing, swing, swing!
But it turns out Morbius is just stronger, I guess. I just sort of punch him a bunch while using fortitude. He dies so hard he just disappears. Surprisingly anticlimactically, actually. Maybe CNN was wrong. Maybe this hacker 4chan isn't as scary as he's said to be at all. I certainly hope he isn't faking me out and has actually gone for good. I would prefer that over any other option. Ha. Next is sewer time. If you didn't think that being in California was hard enough, now we have to be in the Californian sewers. Thankfully though, there won't be any shit down here. That's all in the streets instead. Throughout this system of sewers that I dare to call a sewer system, I am attacked at nearly all angles by these so-called creatures. I can't imagine calling these ugly-ass motherfuckers anything more than, well, ugly-ass motherfuckers. Though, I do end up getting ambushed pretty hard by them eventually. Towards the end of my little Lemonade Sea extravaganza, I realized that fighting these little two-legged weirdos is actually pretty fun. Thank goodness there's nothing else standing in my way down here. Oh, it's just Homer Simpson. That's no problem either. At least there's no... Sheesh, I probably should stop talking before I get attacked by a massive werewolf or something. This is my first fight against one of these creatures, and honestly these spider geeks are the only fights where I primarily use my massively underwhelming ranged weapon capabilities. The only reason I lose this fight, twice in a row by the way, is because I get stuck on all the quicksand corpses all around the arena. They just kinda suck you in and never let you go. But thankfully third time is indeed the charm, and I parkour my way through the rest of the Warrens with little issue. At the end of this incredibly shitty road, metaphorically speaking, there lies a land of garbage and trash where, I will admit, I thought a haven of Nosferatu was going to exist. I remember being very disappointed on my first discovery of this area because there were simply 2.5 Nosferatu. The 0.5 is accounting for the invisible motherfucker named Gary, who's the guy I have to find. Gary is the one I was sent to ask about the Sarcophagus' new location. Of course, just like every other vampire in the entire game, he demands I go to a new location to aid him in his quest to find something of his, a man named Barbarous. These vampires have really wacky names. Just get with the times already, dude. Like, just don't choose a name like Gary. It's that simple. Anyway, to Chinatown we go, I guess. I can't wait. At least Chinatown isn't a bad place.
You want your fortune read? Fine. You're going to go to a fancy restaurant. You're going to order snails. Don't eat them! That's disgusting! Snail very dirty.
Oh, I see. It's just as racistly Chinese as can be. Alright, well, this is the first time I got to this point in the game. I stopped right before Chinatown every other time I've played through this game. So from here on out, it's all brand new to me. Just like it's all brand new to Morbius, because there was no mention or exploration of New York's Chinatown in his astoundingly perfect movie. Well, actually, there's no mention or exploration of New York in general in this game either. But big Cali cities and New York City are both incredibly shitty and violent places, so there's no difference for our purposes. In the midst of all this mayhem, I do a few more side quests, punch some zombies, convince a gargoyle named Navin Goosum to fight in favor of California, no wonder how he keeps getting re-elected, he just eats all the homeless people, dude, and return to the town of China to further my ventures in the land of kung fu vampires. Ming Xiao tells me to find Wang Ho, who tells me to find his recently kidnapped daughter Kiki, and he will give me all the info I want. When I say recently kidnapped, by the way, I mean literally as I walked up to his business, she was taken away. She was kidnapped for a grand total of like 5 minutes. That is, after all, the real power of the Morbius fist technique. After I save his incredibly hostile and kinda racist daughter, I have to meet up with Chinese Agent 47, and despite the fact that he is human, he watches me drink the blood of every stupid gun-toting human being that dare walk into my line of sight. The only thing I get for helping him survive an armada of gunmen is a code to a nightclub. You know what time it is then. That's right, it's time to be exposed by a smart man in a TV box. It's also time to kill the man we were looking for because we were told to. This is just Bioshock all over a fucking again, man. I hate this would you kindly shit. It's time to be a guinea pig, I guess, because I traverse my vampiric twink ass over to Foo Syndicate, not Corporation like I have written in the script, in order to get the guy I'm looking for that Gary fella. First and foremost, I must drink the carbon monoxide aerosol sent into the room. This man says I'm dead as a result, but the truth is, carbon monoxide just tastes like a sweet and sour candy spray. I then get my eyes absolutely destroyed by the brightest UV light I've ever seen in my life, and he dares call it moderate. Well, you know, except the sun. Of course, that's pretty bright too. Don't look directly into the sun. Then comes the lasers. And like a moment out of a B-movie flick about a spy down on his luck, thanks to leaving a rubber ducky with his name on it in the office of the main villain, and he's trying to sneak his way back through the laser grid to get that exact rubber ducky so he isn't found out, I just climb over the laser light sources and their wall mounts. Then the spinning blades. Bop, bop, bop. That's dealt with pretty easily. And immediately afterwards, combat. Good thing to know is that I am not afraid of Christianity. I revel in the Lord's word apparently, so I no longer have to self-censor myself. Then the shotguns come out. If it ain't one thing, it's another, because these shotguns do be kinda hurting. My fists hurt harder though. Whatcha? That's the sound of me hitting people. Electricity and water is up next. Just gotta shoot the generators. Then comes the obvious bait. These motherfuckers really put a bunch of flammable canisters in a room and didn't expect me to blow them up? Yeah, alright. Time to bust my ass out of here. Devour the sustenance of the guy who trapped me, and save that one weirdo that I have to save at Gary's request. When we do save Barbarous, Gary calls us on our personal cell phone, not to be confused with a payphone by the way, and we are off to an Italian gala in order to, obtain the sarcophagus we are looking for. Off to the Mushroom Kingdom where I either gotta kill Super Mario or bang Princess Peach. Before I can try either or, however, I actually have to figure out how to get inside. The front is by invitation only, but I want to sneak in, so I go around back. I try to put the doorman to sleep, but he just instantly wakes up and tells me to go fuck myself when I try to open the door. Somebody should really give this man a raise because he is the greatest doorman I've possibly ever seen in my life. Actually, scratch that. Somebody get this guy a grave, not a raise, because I kill him to enter. He's not innocent because he would have shot me. Hypothetical criminals are still criminals to me, Dr. Michael B. Morbius. After a couple of tries, because my innate vampiric abilities call to me from beneath my mortal flesh, and when I pick up the phone they tell me to go wacky and stupid, I speak to an Italian creature named Nadia, and she takes me to the underground tunnels beneath her father's mansion. Sweet, honestly, but I was expecting a little more rich person aesthetic, and not I devour baby flesh and drink blood aesthetic. Oh, wait, no. This place makes perfect sense, actually. They even have a couple of supernatural bodyguards at the very bottom. Get it? Bodyguards? Because there's a body in the sarcophagus, apparently? Anyway, the brothers of Blade and Claw are no match for the brothers of Right and Left, and I managed to send the sarcophagus packing. Oh, no. I packed the sarcophagus and sent it to my manager. My mistake. It appears the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air has summoned the hobo furry to research the sarcophagus. I'm perfectly okay with this, so long as he doesn't ejaculate anywhere close to me whatsoever. But I must help this guy out too. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If it's not one thing, it's another. And that another is the Society of Leopold. This place proves no real difficulty. I just have to beat people up, drink some blood, and then beat more people up. That is the power of the Morbius fist technique. Once this wild ride is over, I'm actually incredibly happy for once. Because I don't want to do anything more for these asshat vampire schmucks with serious ego complexes. I can totally understand why Morbius never aligns himself with people who have superpowers. It's definitely not because he's a forgettable character. To imply that would be absolute heresy. It turns out the leader of this bat-hating shit-crazy basket-making organization is the German guy who was yelling undead slurs at me in the Burning Manor way back when. No shot. Who would have thought that to be the case? He must not know I'm a vampire with massive vampiric muscles and super awesome undead powers, because he tries to fight me mono e undead mono. Well, needless to say, it does not go very well for him at all. After all is said and done, and dusted, and said, and done, I find the professor guy that the hobo furry wanted me to find, and I ask him about the sarcophagus. Oh, also I escape a bomb, but is that really that important? Now I gotta go kill a guy because he's a leader of a big terrorist organization. It's really all such a huge mess. This part is actually pretty tough, and it's only going to get more tough after this point as well. But then it stops being tough because I get a fucking flamethrower. Then it starts getting tough again as I have to fight the California heroin addict version of the hacker 4chan from earlier. Before I get into this, I do have to point out and mourn the loss of my greatest friend and my second in command for this little gang of mine. She was killed by a gangrel vampire with a serious furry identity problem and some other schmuck trying to make his dad happy. I'll never forget you, what was her name? The hacker4chan.org proves tough, but ultimately Morbius and his expert katana skills prove to be even tougher. I call this the Morbius katana technique. The hacker 4chan dies without even a word. Like, he just dies. Doesn't say anything, nothing really happens. And I leave this bloody version of SeaWorld as fast as I possibly can. Ming Xiao interrupts to say she was in an alliance with the prince of a shitty American drink. I already knew that. So as a result of telling me the truth but also lying to me at the same time, I will have to kill her soon. Sir Princeton tells me to find Nines Rodriguez, who was blamed for the death of the Malkavian primogen we had to find earlier at his mansion. You know, the one that's now like fireworks in the sky. And we have to tell him that there is no blood hunt out for him. I actually find Nines' second in command at his base of operations, who argues with me about an alliance with the prince. Little does she know, I don't actually give a shit. I'm only here to find the man with the big iron on his hip, not to argue with a Reddit anarchist wet dream all wrapped up into a woman's body. But she does eventually tell me where he's at. Once I arrive, it turns out that Captain LaCrunch lied to me and ambushed me, and Nines and I are now in trouble. In fact, we are in trouble solely because of that. Also, that. Now I have to stay alive for 3 whole minutes against this monstrosity, and I cannot fight back, at least not very well, if at all. I don't even try to fight back, I just run away like the little bitch I am. I am actually shitting myself as I hear the werewolf clomp around on the roof and howl as he chases me. Also, the fact that I just can't run away is horrifying. I do dip and dive out of the fires of the wild with a massive furry bitch right behind me, and I pray Nines did not die. Actually no, I don't really care. I'm Morbius. I can handle myself. The only things I can't handle are spiders, stanky leg disorders, and black hair dye. Not in that order. Once I arrive at the end, that Jack fellow who stole my name drives me back to my safe haven in the land of Santa Monica. Apparently, what I also can't handle is the fact that I am now a criminal to my fellow vampire kind. To be honest, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. This entire part of the game is where things take a turn for the worse. Not in terms of difficulty, but in terms of just being annoying. No, actually, it's also very difficult, and that's what makes it annoying. Up until this part, non-combat characters are pretty viable. Thankfully, I'm still half decent at combat and therefore half good to go. So after making it to where I gotta go, beating the shit out of the remaining enemies so I can actually leave Santa Monica, this is what it's like to actually try and leave, by the way. All of the citizens attack you with machetes, katanas, shotguns, all of it, just to keep you in the city. It's horrifying. Once I get in the cab and drive away, the taxi driver asks me what I really want to do. Of course, I choose to kill both Prince Lackey and Ming Xiao, simply because they both lied to me so many times, I feel myself getting a little more pleased. A little more exasperated. A little more bunctious. Ming Xiao is up first, and thankfully her entire dungeon is filled to the brim with people I can suck dry of their blood and throw aside like a sack of potatoes. Deep within the shrine of Chinatown lies the shrine of Amana, and so it happens not only is Ming Xiao not simply a beautiful Chinese woman, but also a very not beautiful tentacle monster that looks to be a combination of Vilgax and Chaos. If only I had either the Omnitrix or the Chaos Emeralds, maybe this fight would be more fun. I'll just straight up admit it, I cheated during this fight. The amount of damage she deals with every single hit, with the addition of a clone of herself also appearing to fight alongside her, dealing the exact same amount of damage, I just fucking cheated. Call this run failed, that's fine. This fight is not worth winning the fight over. You know what, if you think I failed the run here, dislike the video. The good thing is she can be stunned with a flamethrower, as she's momentarily paralyzed by flame, which means that I will have the ability to beat the ever-loving watery shit out of her. Ew, gross. I also cheat in Elder Vitae packs because they fully heal me and also give me all of my blood back, which is completely necessary to use Fortitude so I don't get killed in 3 hits with no dodge button. But I figure that if I can be killed in 3 hits with no dodge if I didn't cheat, then her not being able to cheat at all means I can beat her in 3 hits too. Of course, if you add a 0 at the end of the 3, and then maybe add another 15 to 30 hits, I do manage to win because I'm Morbius, but it's just not fun to do at all. Upon killing her, I pick up the Sarcophagus key, which is what I was after all along, believe it or not, and move on. Then I gotta deal with Lecroy, the undead man without a single damn plan. First things first, I have to clear out the lobby. I make the fat fella sing in fear before I clear out everyone using my patented Morbnique, known as Sleep and Suck. It's probably not too patented considering it's definitely pretty easy to get into doing once you keep playing for longer than an hour. For the most part, I just leave everyone asleep on the ground. I really can't stress just how much of a redemption arc I've been on through this Morbius 2022 sequel. That redemption arc thing goes out the window in this next area because there are a lot of controversial opinions that are being posted to twitter.com that I need to permaban. Instead of being taken to the penthouse by the elevator, I'm instead dropped off a few floors below. These floors are ripe with guards and SWAT members. The only ones I end up killing are the SWAT members, because I simply cannot suck all of their blood out of their body, so I beat it out of them instead. I beat the shit out of a lot of them. I even run into one of them covered in explosives. After calling his mom and telling me he bit another SWAT member, she comes and picks him up early from school, and I can take the explosives he had around his torso for free. After slapping the explosives onto the nearby elevator, I send it up, blow everyone to high smithereens, and then move on to, fighting more vampires.
It can't get any worse than this.
There's a lot of fighting at the end of this game, by the way. All of this fighting eventually leads to the grand old fight against the Grey Hulk vampire man himself. This fight, despite this fucker being so much more imposing for the entirety of the game, literally standing over people, and even Le Prince de Resistance himself, he's more of a bitch than Ming Xiao is. So is his second phase, by the way, where he breaks like 1,000 copyright laws by becoming Man-Bat. Partway through this fight, where a bunch of confused vampire furries and a cop come out, the cop actually ends up helping me out by shooting at Mr. Man-Bat, while the confused furpires just kinda run around scared for their life sometimes, and desperate to kill me other times. It all goes pretty well though, all things considered, and ends in the death of the behemoth man Batman. And upon entering the final elevator in the game, I am met with Prince Lecroy. the prince of soon-to-be nothing. And of course, being such an impetulant child, he's telling me how he fucked my mom over Xbox Live voice chat. Typical video game experience, I gotta tell you. I stab and jab him, tell him to go fuck himself, and toss him the key I picked up from Ming Xiao. He blathers about being better than me soon somehow, like that would ever happen, but opens the sarcophagus to see that it's filled with a shitload of C4 thanks to Smiling Jack. As the badass known as Michael B. Morbius, I walk away from the exploding tower and give Nines and his crew a big fat middle finger as he begs me to morb all over him. I'm not into that shit, weirdo. And with that, I beat Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines as Michael Morbius. Mostly. Signing off my first ever completion of the game's main story. All that's left to do is thank you for watching, beg for likes and subscriptions, and wait patiently for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. That last one, however, may be quite a while because it is currently in development hell as we speak. Thank you so much for watching. If this wasn't up your alley, don't worry. This was just a run that I had to do as part of a joke, as I had finished watching Morbius with a friend within mere hours of deciding to do this run at all, so I committed to it. If you want to stick around and see what's in store for the future, why not subscribe and hit that notification bell? Also, like the video. I do enjoy seeing numbers rise. My name was Jack, and it always has been. And remember, wherever we go, it is the blood of Cain which makes our fate.
Just a humble bounty hunter, man.
Stay lucky.